James Charles has responded to Kayla's messages by sharing the messages he had with Kayla's ex. But James, I think we all know those aren't the messages we were looking for. You know the messages we wanted to see. So he first responded to Kayla's message with a message of his own. He said, I watched Kayla's videos last night and I'm grateful that she did not feed into the lies that she was told by Zach, while also expressing how I upset her. Now, what he's talking about here is Zach, who is a former friend of Evan, which is Kayla's ex-boyfriend who James was hanging out with. Zach posted all of these videos accusing James of having a sexual relationship with Evan. Now, Kayla doesn't talk about that in her videos, but I think it is implied a couple times. Anyway, carrying on. I said it in my original video and I'll say it again. Kayla, I'm sorry that I was ever involved with this compulsive liar, and I'm even more sorry that my involvement hurt you. She said in her video that she wasn't sure which stories from Evan were true, and there seems to be some confusion about my involvement before their breakup. I want to make it clear, I absolutely did not pursue Evan or have a secret plot to take him from Kayla. As you can see, Evan reached out to me multiple times. I politely responded and then ended the conversation. I offered to privately share all of these messages directly with Kayla so she could see what actually happened, but now I will share them publicly to hopefully make it clear. James then uploads the screenshots between him and Evan Johnson, Kayla's abusive ex. Now, James Charles shared from what I believe is the beginning of when the two of them met. And they met, if you remember, at a party with Kayla. She brought Evan to this birthday party. James Charles was there, and she says that James and Evan had this big, long conversation. And afterwards, Evan tells Kayla that James had been telling Evan how beautiful he was, and he was the most hot guy there at the party, etc. So it does look like Evan reached out to James first, and he says, it was good meeting you, brother. And James responds with the love hands, and he says, hope you got home safe, man. And then James responds and says, I'm in bed safely and about to knock, LOL. Good night. What does knock mean? I thought it meant like knock out, like head to sleep, but Evan's response now makes me think it's something else. Evan responds and says, that's good to hear. That's crazy you went the whole night sober. Knock out the big shit in the morning, with the laughing emoji. Does that mean what I think it means? Am I right here? Is there another meaning to knock? Like, was James having fun with himself before bed? Is that what they were talking about? Let me know in the comments, because honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's it for the conversation. And then the next day, Evan writes him and says, is there any good events coming up? James responds saying, no idea, ha ha ha. I told you I don't go out ever. And then Evan responds back and says, damn, respect. And James says, I just don't enjoy it, haha. I'm sure Kayla's invited to a ton of stuff. And then Evan says, yeah, haha, I was just trying to find some more cool ass events. And then there doesn't seem to be any more texting until January, where Evan responds to one of James's stories and says, home you're good, brother, which I assume he meant hope you're good, brother. And then it looks like James just hearts the message, and it doesn't look like they talk again until January 14th, where apparently Evan video calls James and then calls him back and it's not answered. And he writes, yo, my bad. And James responds saying, LOL, you're good, no worries. Then Evan says, you should come to Hawaii with us sometime, brother, and sends a photo. And James writes a note here saying the selfie he sent first with the girls in the background. Then James responds with a photo and writes, brother is crazy. I agree. What is with Evan calling him brother constantly? But anyway, James writes a note saying, the selfie Kayla showed of me on Evan's phone. So all of this is what Kayla was talking about in her video, where she said that she was in Hawaii with Evan and two of her friends. They were not in a good place in their relationship. It was basically the end of their relationship. And Evan and James are messaging back and forth. So Evan responds to James saying like brother's crazy, because Evan keeps calling him brother. And he responds and says, my bad, and says it's the Tennessee and I'm coming out. He says brother to everyone. Hawaii's just fun ASF. Also, Kayla and Emma was just talking about ya. We escaped the fires. And then James says, oh, I miss them. He says, yeah, good for you guys. Evan does respond and say, gotta reunite. And that's it for the screenshots. And then he posts this saying, I'm happy that Kayla got justice for what Evan put her through. And like she said, she deserves to celebrate. I genuinely wish her the best and pray that she continues to win with her abuser staying behind bars. James, you know those aren't the text messages we want to see. Now, I'm glad he posted those because it does clear up when Evan was in Hawaii with Kayla, what they were actually saying. So that's good. But where's the actual text messages we want to see? Where's the text messages between you and Evan when you flew him out to your place for a whole weekend? Where's all the messages that are from Hawaii until then, when you guys got this friendship and then he spent a whole weekend with you? That's what we want to see. And I don't think I'm alone in wanting to see these. So this is James Charles's account on TikTok. Before this drama with Kayla started, James was at 41 million. He quickly dropped down to 40.4 million when all the drama started. And then eventually he went back up to 40.8 after he posted his 10-minute response video. Since the time that Kayla dropped her videos yesterday, he's gone down 100,000 followers. He's gone down to 40.7 mil. It doesn't seem like a lot when you have 40 million followers, but 100,000 followers on TikTok that all unfollowed is pretty significant. We'll see if more are dropping in the next couple days or not. I do think he needs to upload those screenshots that he's got between him and Evan from the time between the ones he shared and when Evan spent a whole weekend with him. What was going on in that time? Were you just supporting him as a friend and was he manipulating you, or was there more going on? The bottom line is Kayla feels upset. She's hurt by what happened. I personally don't think James Charles really owed her anything. I mean, they weren't close friends. He's already said that. So if he did get together with Evan, that's on him. That's his morals, however it works. The point is that he was acquaintances with Kayla, and she told him what she had gone through about the abuse, that she was going to be uploading exactly what happened to her, and he still pursued that friendship and then lied to her about it. In the meantime, can we also talk about this? Who's running Evan's Snapchat account? As you know, Evan is now in jail for what he did to Kayla for the next year and a half. And somebody, I'm assuming it's his sister, because I've heard that everywhere, is posting this. Slipped in a little late. No, you didn't. You're in jail and they have a set time you have to wake up. And also this. Someone wrote and said, "Does the king reply?" And he writes, "Your wish is my command." When's this from? Like, is this an old post, or is someone actually commenting this recently and his sister's responding this? Because then we had this one. Someone said, "Can you take a picture with another phone of the date and time?" And it's from yesterday, Friday, May 16th. This just isn't a good look. Whoever's running his Snapchat account needs to take a step back. I know he's just trying to make money because people are watching his snaps and he gets paid for that, even while in prison. But come on, like, no.